Imagine you're standing in the middle of a completely screaming stadium in Taunton.
Oh, no.
Right. The floodlights are just beating down on you, sweat is pooling in your gloves, and you know that the next 12 balls thrown at you will dictate, well, not just tonight's match, but potentially an entire year's worth of championship hopes.
Yeah, no pressure at all, right?
Exactly. Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we are immersing ourselves in the raw, totally unvarnished reality of the 2026 Vitality Blast.
Specifically, we're looking at a Central and West group clash between the defending champions, Somerset, and their fierce Welsh rivals, Glamorgan.
Yeah, and we are entirely bypassing the traditional post-game summary today.
Right, we're not just reading the box score. Our mission is much more forensic. We're taking a real-time match report and some deep tournament data, and we're basically freezing time.
Freezing it right at the precise 18-over mark of Somerset's first innings.
So just to set the scene for you, there are exactly 12 balls left in the first innings.
12 balls left, and the scoreboard glows with this terrifying set of numbers. Right. Somerset is sitting at 184 for 5.
Which is huge.
It's massive.
Yeah.
And I want to spend our time today really unpacking the absolute anatomy of this specific moment. Because, to the untrained eye, 184 for 5 with 2 overs left looks like a team that has just calmly, methodically dismantled a bowling attack.
Right, it looks like a luxury cruise. Like everything went exactly to plan.
Exactly. But the data tells a completely different story.
Oh, it really does.
It tells the story of a brutal collapse, near total disaster, and this deeply improbable resurrection.
Yeah, I mean, the visual of that scoreboard is incredibly deceptive. To truly understand the psychological pressure cooker of those 12 remaining balls, you have to reconstruct the 18 overs that actually precede them.
Right, because it wasn't a straight line.
Not at all.
Yeah.
I mean, we are looking at a current run rate of 10.22 runs per over. But that number completely masks the violent fluctuations of the inning.
Roller coaster, yeah. So who was actually at the crease in this frozen moment?
At the crease, you have Somerset's captain, Gregory, on 54 not out from 28 balls, and with him is Daniel Sams, a notorious finisher, sitting on 10 not out from just 4 balls.
Okay, so let's dissect how they got here. Because looking at the timeline, it basically resembles a cardiac event on an EKG monitor.
That's a great way to put it.
Right. I mean, Somerset comes out the gates completely swinging. They put up 60 runs in the first 6 overs, which is the power play.
A phenomenal start.
So for someone who might casually tune into T20 cricket, can you just explain the mechanical advantage of those first 6 overs? Like, why is 60 runs considered the gold standard?
Well, the power play is essentially a period of sanctioned, structured violence, right? It's entirely dictated by fielding restrictions.
Because the captain can't put fielders wherever they want.
Exactly. For those first 6 overs, the fielding captain is only allowed to have 2 fielders outside the 30-yard circle. So the entire geometry of the field is condensed.
Basically playing in a smaller box.
Right, and the objective for the batters is to exploit all that vast, undefended acreage near the boundary ropes. You don't even necessarily need to hit the ball perfectly,
Let's get it over the infield.
Exactly. If you can elevate it over the infield, it's almost guaranteed to go for a boundary. So scoring 60 runs in this phase without losing multiple wickets means you have perfectly weaponized those fielding restrictions.
You are operating at absolute peak efficiency. But then, and this is where the EKG analogy comes in, the monitor completely flatlines.
It really does. It's a drag.
So it's not coming onto the bat as cleanly.
Right.
They got here. Because looking at the timeline, it basically resembles a cardiac event on an EKG monitor.
That's a great way to put it.
Right. I mean, Somerset comes out the gates completely swinging. They put up 60 runs in the first 6 overs, which is the power play.
A phenomenal start.
So for someone who might casually tune into T20 cricket, can you just explain the mechanical advantage of those first 6 overs? Like, why is 60 runs considered the gold standard?
Well, the power play is essentially a period of sanctioned, structured violence, right? It's entirely dictated by fielding restrictions.
Because the captain can't put fielders wherever they want.
Exactly. For those first 6 overs, the fielding captain is only allowed to have 2 fielders outside the 30-yard circle. So the entire geometry of the field is condensed.
Basically playing in a smaller box.
Right, and the objective for the batters is to exploit all that vast, undefended acreage near the boundary ropes. You don't even necessarily need to hit the ball perfectly,
Let's get it over the infield.
Exactly. If you can elevate it over the infield, it's almost guaranteed to go for a boundary. So scoring 60 runs in this phase without losing multiple wickets means you have perfectly weaponized those fielding restrictions.
You are operating at absolute peak efficiency. But then, and this is where the EKG analogy comes in, the monitor completely flatlines.
It really does. It's a drastic drop-off.
The fielding restrictions lift, 5 fielders drop back to the boundary, and Glamorgan suddenly chokes the life out of the innings.
They absolutely suffocate them.
Right, because by the 10th over, Somerset has collapsed to 83 for 4. I mean, they lose 4 wickets for just 23 runs in the span of 4 overs.
It's a catastrophic hemorrhage.
So what physically changes on the pitch to cause a collapse like that? Is it just the fielders moving back, or does the ball actually start behaving differently?
It's a combination of both, actually. It's spatial geometry meeting the physics of the cricket ball itself.
Okay, break that down for me.
Well, once the field drops back, those easy boundaries we just talked about, they completely disappear. Batters suddenly have to hit the ball significantly harder or find incredibly precise gaps to get the same result.
Which increases the risk.
Exactly. But simultaneously, the ball is getting slightly older. The pronounced seam that helps pace bowlers early on gets a little battered. The ball stops skidding onto the bat as nicely.
Oh, interesting. So it's not coming onto the bat as cleanly.
Right. And this is exactly when the fielding captain invariably introduces spin bowlers. The spinners grip the older ball, utilize the friction of the pitch, and suddenly the ball is turning, dipping, and bouncing just really inconsistently.
Which inevitably induces panic.
Absolute panic.
Because you swing for the fences out of sheer frustration since the easy runs dried up, and you get caught on the boundary.
That is the exact mechanism of a middle over collapse. It is induced claustrophobia. The spinners suffocate the run rate. The batters try to manufacture a shot that just isn't there to break the stranglehold, and they perish.
And Glamorgan executed this phase flawlessly.
Yeah.
I mean, reducing a powerhouse team like Somerset to 83 for 4 at the halfway mark is a tactical masterclass.
It's brilliant bowling. They laid a trap, and Somerset walked right into it.
Which brings us to the psychological crux of this entire match.
Oh.
You have to imagine you are Lewis Gregory. You are the captain.
Right.
You walk out to the middle, look up at the scoreboard, and see your top order completely gutted.
It's a lonely walk.
I can imagine. And the conventional wisdom, drawn from decades of traditional cricket logic, screams at you to consolidate.
You're supposed to put the anchor down.
Right, you're supposed to absorb the pressure, knock the ball around for singles, build a partnership, and just ensure you don't get bowled out for 110.
That's the textbook approach.
But Gregory doesn't do that. He counterattacks. He is striking at nearly 200. I have to challenge this from a data perspective. Is pure, unadulterated aggression really the smartest mathematical play when you are 4 wickets down?
It absolutely is, and I know it sounds counterintuitive, but it highlights the fundamental paradigm shift between traditional long-form cricket and the modern T20 format.
How so?
Well, if Gregory attempts to consolidate leg, if he decides to just take singles for the next 5 overs to rebuild the innings, he is essentially sealing his team's fate. Let's look at the mathematical reality of a pitch like Taunton.
Right, it's known for being a fast scoring ground.
It is famously flat with really short boundaries. It is a batter's paradise. If Somerset consolidates and bats out their 20 overs to reach a score of, say, 140, they will lose the game with near certainty.
Because 140 just isn't enough on that ground.
A score of 140 on this specific ground against a professional batting lineup is completely undefendable.
Wow. So the traditional fear of getting bowled out is actually a sunk cost fallacy in this format.
That is a perfect way to frame it. Gregory understands that getting bowled out for 115 in the 15th over while trying to hit boundaries results in a loss.
Right.
But batting out the 20 overs to score 140 also results in a loss. Therefore, the only mathematically viable option, however perilous it might be, is to continue swinging.
You have to accept the extreme risk of a total collapse in order to buy the slim possibility of reaching a competitive total of 180 or 190.
Exactly. He isn't protecting his wicket. He is protecting the trajectory of the scoreboard.
It's like being down by 20 points in the 4th quarter of a basketball game.
Oh, that's a good analogy.
Right. You can't just run traditional offensive sets. You have to shoot 3-pointers. You might miss them all and lose by 40, but it's literally the only geometric path back to a victory.
Exactly right. And that mindset clearly infects the batters who come in after him, because Daniel Sams walks to the crease at number 7, faces just 4 deliveries, and instantly smashes 10 runs.
Which is just wild intent.
The arrival of Daniel Sams completely shatters Glamorgan's death bowling strategy. When a batter comes in and needs 10 or 12 balls to get his eye in, to adjust to the pace and bounce of the pitch, the bowling team has a buffer.
They can relax just a little bit.
Right. But when Sams hits 10 off 4 immediately, It induces cognitive overload for the fielding captain.
Okay, walk me through that overload. What is actually happening in the mind of the bowler standing at the top of his run-up?
Well, in the final overs, the death overs, the margin for error for a fast bowler is microscopic. Their primary weapon is the Yorker, which is a ball pitched perfectly at the batter's toes.
Very hard to hit.
Exactly. The physics of a Yorker make it almost impossible to get a bat underneath to hit it for a boundary. But bowling a projectile at 90 miles an hour and trying to land it on a target the size of a teacup is incredibly difficult.
I can imagine.
And if you miss that target by 6 inches short, it becomes a half volley, which is perfectly placed for the batter to hit into the stands.
And if you miss it by 6 inches full, it's a full toss at knee height, which is arguably even easier to hit for a home run.
Exactly. Now, inject Daniel Sams's immediate aggression into that equation. When Sams shows he is willing to swing violently from ball one, he disrupts the bowler's spatial awareness.
He misses with their head.
The bowler knows that even a slight mistake will be punished, and Sams might shuffle deep into his crease, which artificially turns what would have been a perfect Yorker into a half volley. He dictates the geometry of the confrontation.
Glamorgan's bowlers are suddenly trapped.
They really are. They can't bowl safely, they can't rely on the batter making a mistake, and they are forced into high-pressure defensive execution.
Which introduces a massive strategic question about how Glamorgan even found themselves in this defensive nightmare. Because this incredible recovery by Somerset, this massive surge to 184 for 5, was fundamentally enabled by a choice Glamorgan made hours ago.
The toss.
Yes. They won the toss, and they actively chose to bowl first. Now, I often hear analysts criticize the decision to bowl first when a team is getting hammered in the first innings.
It's an easy criticism to make in hindsight.
Right. But I want to defend Glamorgan's bowlers for a second. They survived a 60-run power play and fought back to reduce Somerset to 83 for 4.
They did.
Didn't they effectively justify the captain's decision at the toss right there? Why is this specific phase, these death overs, retroactively ruining everything they achieved in the middle?
Well, the game theory of the coin toss in T20 cricket is fascinating, and it hinges on the psychological weight of certainty. When a captain wins the toss and says, "we will bowl," the foundational logic is about controlling variables.
So they want to know what they're up against.
Exactly. The captain is declaring that they prefer to know the exact target they need to chase. They want to eliminate the anxiety of wondering if a 160 is enough or if they need a 190. You trade the pressure of setting the pace for the comfort of a fixed finish line.
You want your batters sitting in the dressing room with a clear mathematical blueprint before they even put their pads on.
That is the ideal scenario.
Yeah.
And for the first 10 overs, that blueprint looked beautiful. Having Somerset 83 for 4 is a monumental success.
Right.
In the Glamorgan dugout at that moment, the batters are probably calculating a target of maybe 140 or 150. It feels incredibly manageable. But the failure to close the trap in the final phase creates a devastating retroactive error.
A retroactive error that completely shifts the psychological burden.
Consider the human element in that dugout. Those batters watched their bowlers execute a brilliant stranglehold, but then they watched Gregory and Daniel Sams systematically dismantle that hold.
Yeah, that's got to hurt morale.
When the target inflates from a projected 150 up to a terrifying 200 plus, which is where 184 for 5 with 2 overs left is clearly heading, the entire rationale of the toss collapses. By bowling first and allowing a recovery of this magnitude, Glamorgan has surrendered total control of the match narrative.
They basically asked Somerset to dictate the terms of engagement, assuming they could keep those terms reasonable. But Somerset just handed them an unpayable bill.
And that bill comes with suffocating pressure. If Glamorgan had batted first and scored a slightly under par 160, they could at least walk out onto the field with aggressive intent, trying to defend it with brilliant fielding and tight bowling.
Right, they have agency.
Exactly. But by bowling first and watching the score climb past 200, their batters are psychologically defeated before they even step over the boundary rope. They are burdened with an improbable run rate from the very first ball they face.
And to truly grasp why Somerset dug so deeply to construct this unpayable bill, why Gregory refused to accept the 83 for 4 collapse, we cannot just look at the physics of the pitch or the geometry of the field.
No, there's way more to it.
We have to look at the psychological baggage Somerset dragged into the stadium tonight. Because just 6 days prior to this snapshot, these two teams met in Cardiff.
The match at Sophia Gardens. It is the inescapable context of everything happening tonight.
Let me set the stage of that trauma, because it goes way beyond a simple loss. On May 29th, Glamorgan didn't just beat Somerset. They dismantled them with a level of clinical violence that you rarely see in professional franchise cricket.
It was a bloodbath.
Somerset batted first and posted 171 for 9. Now, in isolation, 131 is a very respectable T20 score.
It's solid.
Right, it gives your bowlers plenty to work with. Tom Banton played beautifully for Somerset, scoring 59, but it was completely meaningless.
It was rendered completely obsolete in the span of an hour.
Glamorgan chased down that 171 in 13.5 overs. They finished at 175 for 3. They won by 7 wickets with 37 balls remaining in the match. I want you to break down what a 13.5 over chase of 170 actually looks like on the field, because to a casual observer, 37 balls remaining might just sound like they finished a bit early.
To finish a chase of 171 with nearly 6 overs unbowled is an act of sustained, systematic destruction. It means Glamorgan was scoring at nearly 13 runs an over from the very first ball.
Which is ridiculous.
It requires a complete breakdown of the opposing bowling attack. In a normal run chase, the batting team respects the good deliveries, right? If a bowler lands a perfect length ball, the batter defends it and waits for a bad ball to attack.
It makes sense.
But in a 13.5 over chase, the batters are ignoring the quality of the delivery. They are hitting perfect deliveries for 6.
They're essentially treating professional fast bowlers like bowling machines.
Precisely. The architects of that destruction were very specific. Nathan McAndrew set the tone with the ball for Glamorgan, taking 4 wickets for just 15 runs, completely stifling Somerset's middle order.
Wow, 4 for 15.
Yeah. And then Kieran Carlson delivered the hammer blow with the bat. He scored an unbeaten 109 to chase the total down.
A century in a chase like that.
Right. Scoring a century in a T20 is rare enough, but scoring one in a run chase that finishes in the 14th over is just astonishing.
Which introduces a massive psychological overlay to the snapshot we're looking at tonight in Taunton. We aren't just talking about a team looking to bounce back from a loss. Somerset are the defending 2025 Vitality Blast champions. They hold the trophy.
That changes the dynamic completely.
I equate this to a heavyweight boxer who has held the belt for a year, walking into an arena and getting knocked unconscious in the first 30 seconds of the first round, and then demanding an immediate rematch 6 days later.
It's purely about ego and pride at that point.
Exactly. How much does pure, unadulterated revenge actually dictate decision-making at this elite professional level? Or is that just a narrative we broadcasters invent to sell the drama?
Oh, it is deeply real. You cannot divorce the human ego from elite athletic performance, especially when dealing with defending champions. A defeat like the one at Sophia Gardens doesn't merely cost you points on a league table, it shatters your aura of invincibility.
And aura is a tangible currency in sports.
Absolutely. When you are the champions, part of your strategic advantage is that opposing teams fear you before the first ball is bowled. They second-guess their strategies. They feel pressure to play perfectly, which often leads to unforced errors.
Because they're in their own heads.
Right. Glamorgan's 13.5 over case completely eradicated that fear. They sent a broadcast to the entire league saying, the champions bleed. They are entirely vulnerable.
So when Lewis Gregory is standing out there tonight at 83 for 4, he is not just doing tournament math in his head. He is managing a crisis of identity for his entire franchise.
Tonight is the champion's statement. Playing at home in Taunton against the very men who humiliated them 6 days ago.
You have to send a message back.
Gregory's counterattack is a forceful physical attempt to prove that Cardiff was a statistical anomaly, a glitch in the matrix. He is demanding respect. He is trying to show the league that Somerset still possesses the sheer, violent force of will required to defend their title.
But that desperation, that visceral need to reestablish dominance, isn't happening in a vacuum. It is being amplified by the ticking clock of a highly unforgiving new tournament structure.
The ECB changes for 2026.
Exactly. The ECB has implemented a format for the 2026 Vitality Blast that essentially turns every single match into a pressure cooker.
The structural changes have completely altered the risk-reward calculus for every front office, coach, and player in the country.
Let's lay out the mechanics of this vice grip. The tournament features all 18 professional county clubs, divided into 3 regional groups of 6,
Yeah.
North, Central and West, and South.
Simple enough so far.
But here is the critical change. The group stage is a sprint. It is only 12 matches long. Now, historically, teams played 14 or sometimes 16 matches in a group stage. Shrinking the season by 2 to 4 games might not sound catastrophic to an outsider, but detail the ripple effect of that contraction.
It fundamentally changes the pacing of a campaign. In a 14 or 16 game season, a team has the luxury of a runway. They can afford to lose their first 3 matches while they figure out their optimal batting order, or while they wait for an overseas star player to arrive, or, while their primary fast bowler recovers from a minor hamstring strain. A long season forgives early mistakes.
You can pace yourself like a marathon. You can have a bad mile and still make up the time.
But a 12-game season is a 100-meter sprint. There is no runway. 10 matches are played intra-divisional home and away against the other 5 teams in your group.
And the other 2.
And then you have 2 crossover matches against teams from other groups. It is a rapid, breathless schedule. If you drop 2 games in the first week, you immediately plummet to the bottom of the table, and you are suddenly relying on mathematical miracles and other teams losing just to stay alive.
Because the bottleneck for playoff qualification is incredibly ruthless. Tell us how a team actually makes it to Finals Day at Edgbaston on July 18th.
It is a labyrinth, really. The winner of each of the 3 groups automatically qualifies for a home quarterfinal.
Okay, that's 3 teams.
Then, the single best second-place team across all 3 groups also earns a home quarterfinal.
Got it.
The remaining 2 second-place teams, plus the 2 best third-place teams overall, have to play away quarterfinals.
So let me pose a tactical question regarding this 12-game format. Does this compressed timeline force teams to abandon conservative percentage cricket entirely? Does it force them to take wilder